Hey everyone, chaomix here. Sonic Forces is a really perplexing game. A lot of people consider it one of the worst in the series, but not for the reasons you'd come to expect from some of the other poorly received Sonic games. Is it a broken, glitchy mess? Is it a horribly unoptimized, laggy game with unbearably long load times? It surprisingly isn't any of these things, because it honestly isn't really anything. It's just such a nothing game, but it was still enough to have a large amount of fans completely lose faith in Sonic Team yet again. Right after we were almost certain Sonic Team figured out how to make good games, we received this. I try to be optimistic with the series, but admittedly this game got to me as well. Sonic Forces' story and gameplay are extremely dull, colorless, and lackluster. It's a step down from pretty much every other game that used this same form of gameplay. Its story is pitched in the beginning as something that would try to be more mature, only for it to completely backpedal when it came time to deliver. It's possibly one of the most unambitious Sonic games I've ever played, and it came out during a period where the series needed the exact opposite. If I had to choose one word to describe the 2010s era of Sonic games, it would be safe. And playing it safe was probably the correct move for the early 2010s, as the series was constantly in the hot seat during the latter half of the 2000s. But you can't stay in your shell forever. After playing it safe for so long, fans became disinterested, so the series needed to take some kind of risk. And at first, it really seemed like Sonic Team was aware of this, and they definitely marketed the game in this kind of light, being a bit more risky with its story having some seemingly darker tones, but man, the end result just didn't deliver any of this. To explain all of my woes with this game would be a pretty colossal endeavor, so this time I just want to focus in on a very specific aspect that made this game feel so anticlimactic. To help me out with this, I brought in my good pal SpeedSuperSonic to cut up some of the pie with me. Give him a round of applause, everyone. Here he is, right here. Woo.
Don't worry, it's water. I'm just soaking in my sorrows. Today is a day I've been trying to avoid. I've been looking forward to collabing with my boy chaomix. When he came to me with the idea for this video, I had to accept because I want to support my friend, but I have to talk about Sonic Forces. There are a bunch of issues with Forces, from the gameplay, to the level design, to the concept of it. But one of my biggest issues, in the Sonic community's biggest issues with this, is how they treat our characters. Sonic Forces has a fundamental issue with its understanding of everybody. Who their characters really are, how they should be used, personalities, traits, everything is off. But if there's a group of characters that really gets under my skin, it's the villains. Sonic Forces has an astonishing amount of villains, probably the most in a Sonic game, probably the biggest star cast of any villains in a Sonic game. Look at all of these villains! And of course, somehow, they found a way to mess it up. They even found a way to mess up the best Sonic villain and possibly the best Sonic character in history, the one and only Dr. Eggman.
If there's one positive thing I can say about him, it's that his character's writing is usually pretty decent. He really is one of the more consistently well-written characters, especially when compared to the poor writing of the hero characters. But Sonic Forces ruins even this consistency. Eggman's role in Sonic Forces is surprisingly limited. After successfully taking over the world, you'd think he'd be the star of the show. But in reality, he's noticeably absent for most of the story, and I think this was a huge missed opportunity. After all the humility phase from his countless beatings, why wouldn't he use his newly found power to personally try and absolutely smoke our heroes at every turn? He even rants on and on at the beginning of the game how his newest plan would allow him to return all the defeat and humiliation he received over the course of every game so far 1,000-fold. Early on in the game, Eggman successfully captures and imprisons Sonic. Something like this is supposed to be a really big deal, but nothing actually happens to Sonic during all of this. According to some dialogue that's just casually thrown out but never really expanded on, Sonic allegedly gets tortured during this time. But where's the proof? Can't really just say something as bold as this and just not follow up on it at all. Sonic kind of just sits in his jail cell doing nothing until he's basically let out. Eggman should have been all like, "Oh, I won't let you go. It would have been really awesome to see Eggman personally toy with and even attempt to completely break the morale of Sonic during his imprisonment. Eggman shattering Sonic's spirit would have been the ultimate torture in my opinion, and throughout the game, Sonic would have to slowly restore his confidence all the way up to the climax of the game, where he's finally able to overcome Eggman and his empire.
Zavok, or Zavok, or Zavik, or I don't know. They keep changing it. Stop trying to make him a thing. If you guys have been following the Sonic franchise closely at all since the year 2013, geez, do you feel old yet? You would know that Sonic Lost World introduced the character of Zavok, part of the Deadly Six. These Zeddy on the planet Lost Hex, who were all murdered by Sonic and his friends. We thought we'd never see them again. Nope, they're still real and around. But recently, Zavok has been everywhere, from Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games to Team Sonic Racing, and now he has a giant role in the Sonic comic books at IDW, and the cherry on top, he's one of the main villains in this game alongside classics like Metal Sonic, Chaos, and Shadow. Some of the most respected villains in Sonic history. Zavok's just there, right next to them. Zavok, like all of the characters in this game, have almost no purpose. As we all know, some of these villains are just holograms. They're not actually the main villains. Zavok serves as a simple henchman in this. He doesn't have a purpose. He doesn't have a reason. He is just there because it's Zavok. And I don't know why. The most that happens with Zavok in this game is Sonic says, "Zavok!" and then you fight him. And let's talk about that boss fight. Zavok is on top of a giant buzz bomber, where Sonic controls in his walking animation from Sonic Lost World. It's not even like really a Zavok boss fight. It's like you fight a bunch of different like buzz bombers, and then you can punch Zavok, which is kind of satisfying. I wish I could do that. And that's it. You see him in the final battle. That's Zavok.
Next, we need to address the giant metal elephant in the room. I'm of course talking about the original Sonic doppelganger, Metal Sonic. It's nice to see Metal Sonic return in a Sonic game, for nearly the 5th time in a row. Throughout the 2010s, he's appeared in a bunch of mainline titles as well as spin-off games. He's in Sonic Generations, Sonic 4 Episode 2, Sonic Boom, Sonic Mania, and now Sonic Forces. I like Metal and I'm glad he's here, but honestly he has no purpose other than fan service. In terms of narrative, he's kind of just here for the sake of being here, just like everyone else. He has 0 lines of dialogue and doesn't seriously interact with any of the characters aside from being a dull grunt for Eggman. His entire existence in this game has almost 0 acknowledgement. Gameplay wise, his boss fight is basically just Silvers from Sonic Generations. Like, I'm pretty sure they just used it as a base by just copying and pasting and reskinning it. Then they added a few different moves and called it a day. But even with all that, it's still much less dynamic than the Silver fight was. There's no switching from 2D to 3D, and there's barely any real difference in the changing phases of the fight. His boss fight isn't really that challenging, and the music isn't anything to write home about, so overall it's a pretty forgettable fight.
Sonic Adventure games are 20 years old. Sonic Adventure is over that. Isn't that crazy? And without a doubt, one of the most iconic characters from that duology of games was Chaos. Chaos meant something. Chaos is a good guy, actually. But with what Forces was trying to do with villains and them not actually being the real villains, this could have worked, and this could have been really cool. Manage a bunch of different Chaos. Chaos? What's the plural of Chaos? But no. Splat, he's dead by classic Sonic with 1 hit. That's how Chaos goes out. It's like winning the lottery and then it getting snatched from your hand. We got robbed of what could have been a potentially awesome fight, but no, we don't have a fight with him. Instead, fans had to make a fight with him. That's right, incredibly talented fans were able to make their own version of a Chaos fight. I wish I could comment on his role in the story somewhat, but Chaos doesn't talk, so automatically Sega was like, oh, he can't talk, let's rule him out of the story completely. I wish that I could talk more about Chaos, but no, there's nothing to talk about. It's the most wasted potential in this game I think there was in terms of characters. It was very sad to see, and I hope that they can utilize Chaos a little better in future Sonic media.
It's no question that Shadow is one of the most popular characters in the entire series, next to Sonic himself. In fact, there have been eras where he's straight up been more popular than Sonic according to official Sonic Team surveys. I always love when Shadow gets to make an appearance in a Sonic game. He's a pretty great character and his personality contrasts with Sonic in really interesting ways. He's Sonic's equal and the perfect rival character to spice up any story. In pretty much every game after Sonic Adventure 2, he's played the role of fighting alongside the main heroes. So Shadow returning as a villain in Forces seemed like a really interesting spin on his character. So how was he ridden to go from a villain turned good to being transformed back into a villain? Well, we actually get duped with a fake Shadow created by the Phantom Ruby. Now, this makes sense because Shadow returning to a villain role would be pretty difficult to explain. It wouldn't really make sense for his character to revert like that, so I think using the Phantom Ruby's power to make a clone of the villains was an alright idea. But what I think was a terrible idea was not having at least some kind of boss fight against the clone Shadow. Again, he's defeated in a single hit during a cutscene. Are you noticing a common trend here? Especially in Sonic games, it's important for key moments like these to be played out in gameplay. It makes them so much more memorable and really gives a nice sense of accomplishment when defeating them. This is the second biggest missed opportunity for a boss fight, and at this moment I felt cheated when I realized that we were gypped out of yet another battle against a legendary character. To give my 2 cents, I think it would have been a lot more interesting to use Mephiles instead of Shadow. He would have been able to serve a similar, if not the exact same purpose, and it would have at least been better fan service to include him versus having 2 Shadows. Why do we need 2 Shadows anyway? Just for the 2 seconds of shock where it's revealed we get duped with a clone? It's seriously one of the most uneventful things to happen in the game, so we honestly wouldn't lose anything of importance by getting rid of it and replacing him entirely with Mephiles. The only saving grace to this is that Sonic Forces actually has some pretty decent DLC with episode Shadow, which lets us play as Shadow through all of Sonic's stages with some really fun remixes of songs from previous games. There's even a few cutscenes that give the tiniest bit of extra depth to the story. Too little too late, but I guess it's better than nothing, right? And finally, we get to talk about the shiny new villain added to the series starting from this game, Infinite. He has a really mysterious design with a mask that conceals almost his entire face, but his motivations are somehow even more mysterious. From the beginning of the story all the way until the end, his goals and motivations are extremely vague because it's never really elaborated on. But lucky for us, we got something post-launch that decided to touch up on this exact topic. As seen in the episode Shadow DLC, Infinite's motivation this entire time was to get revenge for being called weak, shown in literally one of the most cringe cutscenes of all time. Like, it physically hurts me to watch this cutscene. So, I'm gonna make you all suffer with me and show it here.
I am not weak. I'm not weak. I am not weak.
Cut the camera. Cut it.
One of the worst parts of Infinite as a character is his motivation. One of the most important things when it comes to villains in any form of media, from movies, TV shows, and yes, video games. Why is Infinite the way he is? Why is he such a big brute? Why is he so powerful? Why does he have this vengeful mindset? Well, it's because Shadow called him weak. Shadow was his own character. He was downgraded to a schoolyard bully. Shadow being mean to Infinite and calling him a name was enough for him to turn into this horrible villain. And it's not like this dynamic comes up ever again. No, they never talk. They never interact, Shadow and Infinite. That would have been nice to see. This was all inside of the episode Shadow DLC. Why not just try to make it part of the main game? Rework the game in some way to have more Shadow elements in it. It could have offered for a better story, and it just kind of makes sense to have Shadow and Infinite, and the reason for Infinite being the way he is in the main game, in the story. It's such an important detail and motivation that it makes no sense that they left it out. It's flabbergasting. Infinite's powers were pretty cool. There was a lot of opportunity for cool visuals and action set pieces, and it was all thanks to the Phantom Ruby, which was introduced in Sonic Mania, which is somewhat of a prequel to this game, unfortunately. This new, amazing gem that they can use that has so much power within it, and that is literally tied into 2 games. You think it would have any importance? No! There is little to no explanation about it. We don't know what else it can do. There is no discussion about this Phantom Ruby, something that is kind of extremely important in the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise moving forward. This is now part of your canon. This is now a part of your lore. Do you not want to set up some boundaries, test out what it can do, show what it can do? Azuka, what are you doing? I know it's not just him. It's these 2 bozos. The missed potential, the missed potential, the missed potential, the missed potential. That's Infinite.
Sonic Forces is a game. It's got a lot of the greatest characters from the series' long and extensive history, but absolutely fails at using any of them effectively. By the end of the game, I ended up with a huge pit of emptiness, just from the sheer amount of opportunities this game willingly ignores. Even in the case of the brand new villain Infinite, his lack of presence and motivation leaves him as an extremely watered down character, despite having a really cool design. Just like the hero characters, the villains of Sonic Forces have very little impact on developing the story in any satisfying or meaningful way. But I don't want to end this video on a bad note, so I'll leave you with this. Although Sonic Forces was very disappointing to a lot of longtime fans, it did introduce a lot of newcomers to the series. Because as flat as Sonic Forces may have felt, it was actually a huge commercial success. With all the characters from the past games showing up, I think it encourages newcomers to go back to the games that they originate from. So I think Sonic Forces is and will continue to be a huge gateway for newcomers to get into the series, and I think that's a pretty great thing. Hey, thanks for watching everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank my good buddy SpeedSuperSonic for being here and helping out with the video.
I had a great time talking about these Sonic Forces villains. It didn't make me upset at all. Thanks, chaomix, I had a great time.
Please go check him out if you haven't. He makes some great content and he's really been grinding the YouTube game lately. Definitely a Sonic tuber you don't want to miss out on this year. I'll have the links to all his stuff in the description. So yeah, go check him out. If you like the video, leave a like. If you dislike it, leave a dislike. If you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification to be the first to know when I upload a new video. In the comments, let me know your least favorite villain from Sonic Forces. For me, it's gotta be Chaos. They did him so dirty. But as always, I hope everyone has a fantastic day. Peace.